Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little black subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that black subscribe button. Really does help our audience grow, really does help our channel grow, really does help and mean more than you could possibly know. So go ahead, hit that little black subscribe button. Also, thank you to our presenting sponsor, Betfred Sportsbook and the Betfred Sportsbook app. Bet 50 on any game, get $250 in free bets. Thank you again to Betfred. Thank you again to you. Now, here is the video that you came here for you. So let's start with some transfer stuff, and more specifically, transfer commitments, okay? Because over the last couple of weeks, we've talked a lot about players entering the portal. Who's going where are they going to end up, all that good stuff. Well, now, the portal's been open about 2.5, 3 weeks. I think it's 3 weeks as of today. And so because of it, we're now starting to see commitments. Guys make decisions, guys end up in specific places. And so we're going to spend time talking about 2, 3, 4 of these guys. But I would argue that the single biggest player, at least from a name brand recognition, and maybe the single most fascinating commitment of this offseason happened on Friday. It involved Caleb Love. We all know Caleb Love. You don't need me to tell you his story, but a fascinating player, former McDonald's All-American, played at Carolina the last 3 years as a starter. I don't think it's an exaggeration to say hit some of the most iconic shots in college basketball history, but also, as we've discussed a couple times on this show, this past year was an outright disaster for Caleb Love at North Carolina, leading him to enter the transfer portal about 2.5 weeks ago. It was a disaster for North Carolina, preseason #1 team in the country, but specifically, it was a disaster for Caleb Love. This was a guy that came in, I think a lot of people thought, can he play his way into the first round? Was a fringe first rounder last year. Instead, shooting percentage dips to 38%. Not very good for a guard who's trying to create off the dribble and make plays for others. His three-point percentage drops to 29% this year. And really, let's be honest, I don't know if he was all of the problem at North Carolina, but he was a huge, huge, huge part of their issue. Too many bad shots early in the shot clock, doesn't get Armando Bacot involved. And so when the season ends and you have a guy that some believed was a preseason All-American, that basically the staff very willingly said, we wish you well, but get the heck out of here. You knew it was going to be chaotic. Anyway, that is a long lead up to say that Caleb Love did make his decision over the course of this weekend. Caleb Love, it seemed like over the last couple days, we talked about it on last Friday's show, it seemed as though it was going to come down to Michigan and his home state school of Missouri. Well, on Friday, Caleb Love officially committed to the University of Michigan. And so, like I said, I don't believe he's the best player in the portal. But when you talk about a player, a school, and a marriage of convenience, I don't think there is a more fascinating commitment that we will see the entire transfer portal cycle than Caleb Love. Let's break down the positive and negative. Because I'm a glasses half full guy, let's focus on the positive. And the positive is this. Caleb Love, listen, say what you want about Caleb Love. This guy can get you buckets, okay? And we've seen when Caleb Love is good and Caleb Love is on, he is one of the most unstoppable guards in college basketball. This was a guy that dropped 28 points in a Final Four game against Duke a few years ago. And we talked about this when he entered the portal. Like, you can criticize Caleb Love for whatever you want, but listen, there aren't very many guys in the portal. As a matter of fact, there was only one that I've ever seen drop 28 points in a Final Four game. It was Caleb Love. And so he had 30 against UCLA in the Sweet 16. So we know what he's capable of. We know that he is a pure bucket getter. And what I would say is, from the Caleb Love perspective, why this could work, this is almost a perfect spot for Caleb Love. And the reason why is pretty simple. Michigan doesn't have anybody to get him points anymore. Have you seen what has happened to this team in the offseason? We've talked about it, but Hunter Dickinson, the leading scorer, entered the transfer portal. Jet Howard, the second leading scorer, Juwan's son, declared for the NBA draft. Kobe Buffkin, third leading scorer, came on, actually played well late in the year, declared for the NBA draft. So right now, the leading returning scorer in the program is a sophomore point guard who's about 5'9", 5'10", named Doug McDaniel, okay? And I like Doug McDaniel. I think he's a good college basketball player, but he's not the kind of guy that is going to go from 8 points per game, which he averaged this year, to like 21 next year. Like you needed somebody to be able to come in and create offense and provide offense, and Caleb Love is it. And so it's a perfect marriage in some regards because Michigan very much first of all, they just need bodies, but two, they need high level guys that can come in and compete at the highest levels of basketball. Okay. I understand why different schools recruit different guys for different roles and different this and different that. But again, you could take some dude that averaged 20 points per game in the Missouri Valley or the Big Sky or the SoCon or whatever. You don't know how he's going to translate to the upper levels of college basketball. We know that Caleb Love at his best is a guy that can get you 20 points on any given night at the highest levels of college basketball. And so that's why this works. Again, I used the term marriage of convenience a few minutes ago, and I think it's very applicable to this situation, right? Very applicable to this situation. Marriage of convenience. Michigan needs dudes that can get buckets. Caleb Love can get you buckets. So that's why it could work. Caleb Love with the ball, either in his hands, playing off the ball, creating whatever. They need him. He's there. Now we get to see if it works. But, and there's always a but, and I'm trying not to be glasses half empty here. I could also say this. I didn't take chemistry in high school, but I could, you know how you pour the wrong liquid into the wrong beaker and there's an explosion that blows everything up? That could be Caleb Love at Michigan too. And it's interesting, right? I was thinking about this, right? So right now, a big conversation in college sports is NIL. And I think everybody's in favor of NIL, but everybody's also in favor of NIL with guardrails. Nobody likes when other teams are just offering your players more money. Those guys enter the portal and they leave. So everybody kind of agrees, NIL, great. NIL without any guardrails at all, kind of chaotic. Got to get it figured out. Why I bring it up, to bring it back to Caleb Love. Caleb Love is really good. But Caleb Love without any guardrails at all, not totally sure if that's what you want if you're Michigan. And so on the one hand, it could work out well. He could be efficient. He can play with Doug McDaniel. He can play with Namari Burnett, transfer from Alabama. They could be one of the best backcourts in the Big Ten, and they can finish third or fourth in that league, get a 6 seed, and save Juwan Howard's job. Or Caleb Love, knowing that Michigan really has nobody else to go to besides him, he might be even more out of control than he was this year. This was a guy that this season, again, he shot 38% from the field as a guard, 29% from three. Very talented player who was wildly out of control this year. Averaged this season 15 shot attempts per game, 7.5 3-pointers per game. You know, it's like the old John Calipari saying, you don't got to make them all, but you can't miss them all either. And if you're shooting 7.5 3-pointers a game, I'd like to see you make more than 29%. And so that's where this becomes interesting, because it could work out, could be the best thing that ever happened to Caleb Love. Or if he isn't more consistent, if he doesn't have better shot selection, if he doesn't listen to coaches like it seemingly he didn't do at Michigan, this could end up really, really, really bad. And so ultimately, that's my final last thought about this decision. Ultimately, we can't really judge Michigan right now this second as a team without seeing what else they do in the transfer portal. But at the same time, what I will say is this. It does feel as though Juwan Howard basically just attached his career as Michigan head coach to Caleb Love. And we talked about this before, but Juwan Howard, obviously, look, 3 years ago, COVID year 2021, leads Michigan to the Elite Eight. But that team had a lot of leftover players from John Beilein's era. Eli Brooks, Isaiah Livers, whoever. I'm trying to think of, who am I missing? Franz Wagner was another one. Really good team, Elite Eight, all that good stuff. Problem is everything that's happened since then. Last season, Michigan and Juwan Howard, 19-15, 11-9, sneak into the NCAA tournament, 11-9 in the Big 12, I should say, sneak into the NCAA tournament as a 11 seed. Now, they do make the Sweet 16, got a nice draw, beat Colorado State, beat Tennessee, go to the Sweet 16. But last year, you sneak in as an 11 seed. This year, you make the NIT. You go next year and you don't make the NCAA tournament, I think Juwan Howard's probably out of a job at that point. Like, I don't think that's insane to think about. And so I just bring it up to very simply say, Juwan Howard kind of basically attached his career to Caleb Love. And I don't really know that at this point he had a better choice, right? You lose Hunter Dickinson, you lose Jett Howard, you lose Kobe Buffkin. Don't really know what other choice he had. But I will say it's an interesting kind of thought experiment, right? Could he have gone with 2, 3, 4 kind of mid-major players and hope that they click and hope you have a tournament team? Instead, he kind of pushed all his chips in the middle and said, I know what this guy can be. I just hope I have to be the guy that can get it out of him. And so it'll be fascinating to watch. Again, I don't think we can contextualize what good this makes Michigan. I need to see what else Michigan does. Right now, they got like 6 scholarship players. There's probably a few more. They have a young guy, Terrace Reed, a front court guy. Terrence Williams is a veteran wing guy. Doug McDaniel, like I said, Namari Burnett, who transferred from Alabama. They still need to fill out this roster. They probably still need scoring on the wing. Have a center, but probably need another backup. So there's still a lot of work to be done for the Michigan Wolverines. But right now, like I just said, we can, what do I always say, right? The show is tonight. I can only judge Michigan on what I know right now. And I don't know if they're good. I don't know if they're not good. But what I can tell you, they are absolutely fascinating.